Why are people wearing gloves to go shopping at the grocery store? What benefit is there to wearing these gloves? Will wearing gloves prevent you from getting the virus? And we'll get to those questions. But first, I'm a visual learner and I want to provide you a demonstration. Let's start with the right way to put on a pair of gloves. You think, well, is there a wrong way to put on gloves? In fact, there is, because of course we know how to put a glove on, but the real magic trick is in folding the edge of the glove over like this on both hands. Now you don't want to fold it down too far so you expose more of your wrist than necessary, but this is going to give us a little tab to take the gloves off. We can't see viruses, but I'm a very visual person, so I thought I'd use Hershey chocolate to help demonstrate horrible infectious agent all over your hands. That's what we're going to call this, horrible infectious agent. So if you put yourself in an environment where this is all over your hands and you didn't put your gloves on properly, when you go to take your gloves off, you're likely to do this. And then you just got horrible infectious agent all over your wrist. We call that the wrong way. The more correct way is to carefully pull the glove off and then this one, because this hand's relatively clean, you can stick underneath. How about just carefully take the glove off in this manner here. That way all the horrible infectious agent is inside the glove that's now inside out, and your hands don't appear to have any horribly infectious agent on them. And as soon as you remove your gloves, best practice is that you wash your hands. Now this isn't practical if you're in your car and you just left a store, so in lieu of washing your hands, you can use hand sanitizer. It's my understanding that this virus, when it's not in the human body, is relatively wimpy and it's easy to kill. So a little bit of soap or a little bit of hand sanitizer appears to be very effective when it comes to killing the virus. And then also I just want to point out, when you're going to wash your hands here, go ahead and get your wrists in areas just above the gloves as well. How about this crazy idea? Can you wash your hands with soap and water if you're wearing gloves? And the answer is yes. According to this document right here, the FDA says when hospitals reach a crisis stage when it comes to their personal protective equipment, if they're running out of gloves, it's perfectly acceptable for healthcare providers to wear the same pair of gloves while seeing multiple patients, but just wash their hands in between each patient. And I think that directly correlates into the average person just wanting to go to the store to buy some essentials. Do you need 7 pairs of gloves to go to the store? No, 1 pair of gloves is okay. And if you engage in an activity where you would normally wash your hands and you're wearing gloves, you can still wash your hands. It's perfectly acceptable. Your gloves are gonna be clean. You're gonna remove most of the infectious agent, assuming that there was some. And washing gloved hands is way better than not washing your gloved hands. All right, how about this one? Can you use hand sanitizer on your gloves? We've probably all seen clerks at the grocery store or other places wearing gloves and using hand sanitizer. You say, hey, you can't use hand sanitizer on gloves. That's ridiculous. That's preposterous. But in fact, you can. But according to this list, if you use nitrile gloves or if you use latex gloves, they seem to have excellent chemical resistance when it comes to hand sanitizer. So we've all seen the pictures on social media, and probably in real life we've even seen people wearing gloves, doing things that are not at all productive to stopping the spread of a virus. Will wearing gloves keep you from getting this virus? No. However, if you get the infectious, if you get the virus on your gloved hands and you remove your gloves, then the virus is no longer on your hands. However, if the virus is on your gloved hands and you touch your face or your eyes or your nose or your mouth, wearing gloves doesn't offer any protection at all. So it's important to have good discipline while wearing gloves. How is it spread? And my understanding is that the virus must enter your mouth, nose, or eyes for you to get it. If it doesn't enter those places, you're not going to get the virus. And the primary method of transmission is direct contact with an infected person. So you touch them, then you touch your mouth, nose, or eyes, and you get the virus. Also, it can apparently travel short distances on water droplets through the air from an infected person when they're speaking or breathing or coughing, especially. And then those droplets can travel through the air and get into your mouth or your nose or your eyes. So wearing gloves won't help you at all with the second half, because wearing gloves isn't going to help the droplets that are floating through the air from getting into your mouth or your nose or your eyes. So I think that's the first thing to understand about gloves. And I think the third thing that's important is that indirect contact is not thought to be one of the primary methods of transmission. That is to say that an infected person that touches an object and then later on a healthy object touches that same object, that's not thought to be a big risk. But the risk is not zero. And so this is where gloves can help. I feel that when it comes to personal protective equipment, in order of importance, if you're going to go shopping, is a mask, and then eye protection like safety glasses. And the third thing would be gloves. It's kind of down on the list. So if you get virus on your hands, you can just wash it off with soap and water or use sanitizer to break it down. It won't kill the virus because they're not alive, but by using sanitizer, it breaks down the virus and makes it no longer active. And it's also my understanding that this particular virus is pretty wimpy, and so outside the body, it's really easy to kill. So if you get the virus on your gloves and you touch your face with your gloved hands, the gloves have not provided any protection at all. So if you're going to wear gloves to the store, you have to practice good hand hygiene. And I don't mean just washing your hands, that's important, and using hand sanitizer. But you have to try to not touch unnecessary things. You want to put gloves on, touch as few things as possible, decon the necessary things you do have to touch, like your credit card and your car keys. And then as soon as you're finished shopping, you can take your gloves off, wash your hands, or use hand sanitizer, and at some point in the future, whether it be right then before you remove your gloves or later on, maybe when you're wearing another pair of gloves and when you're ready to wash your hands, you can decon your credit card and your car keys with alcohol or soap and water. And I suggest that people make a paper list instead of using your phone when you go to the store. That way you don't have to touch your phone, and your phone doesn't, has almost no risk of getting things on it if it stays in your pocket or your purse or in your car. And then one thing I do after I use my card is I put it in a bag. I usually don't remember to bring a small baggie with me, so I just put it in one of the grocery bags. And when I get home, then I go ahead and decon it. But the thing is, if you think about it, like the virus is like the chocolate, and if it's on a certain number of items at the store or it's on the cart, and you touch it and you now have it on you, if you touch your card or you touch your phone or you touch your face, now that chocolate mess is all over your car or your card or your keys or your face. So it's important if you're going to wear gloves, and even if you're not going to wear gloves, to just not touch your face and wash your hands a lot and decon things as necessary.